What's up? This is your boy Bryant, Lavender. How you doing? I know it's been a while, but I just wanted to let you guys know that Driven, Fight for What They Said You Couldn't Have is still available. Go to BryantLavender.com and get it, or Amazon and get it, and just type in Driven, Fight for What They Said You Couldn't Have. The other thing I wanted to do was give you a little insight about my book. And there are so many things that have come up, questions, suggestions that have come up that I wanted to give you guys this author insight. So, what I really wanted to talk to you guys about, what I wanted to dive into were some questions. I picked some questions out of my book because I have questions after each chapter. And so in each chapter, I decided to decide which 3 questions I wanted to elaborate on, to give y'all a few insight of how my mindset was and how things took place and what I was really thinking and how I decided to go about things and what I learned. So the first question is, how can you use a setback to fuel your success? Okay, so early on in my years of living, I had a major event happen, a catastrophic event happen, and it altered the way that I looked at people. It altered the way that I looked at my situation, and altered the way that I look and took sports. Okay, there was some things that I wanted to do and be, but when that event happened in my life, it was like an overdrive. It was like, okay, I got to do this because I do not want to become a statistic. And for me, it was more important to live up to the promise that I had made, not only to myself, but to my dad, and live up to that. If you want to know what the promise was, gotta get the book. Anyway, so in that, it fueled me because I wanted to be great in everything. I wanted to know what I needed to do, how I needed to do it, and anything that I could take from somebody, I was like a sponge, and I took it, and nobody or nothing was gonna stop me from ultimately being successful. And that was kind of how I lived my life. I was really driven to be great and not to become a statistic. The next question: what unexpected things happened in your life? Okay, so this happened about my sophomore year in high school. At this time, I became a starter, and you know, in high school, when you become a starter as a sophomore, that's kind of a big thing. So this thing happened. You know, this unexpected event happened while I became a starter, and it sidelined me for the rest of the year. And I was crushed as a young man trying to get a scholarship and wanting to put my best out there. The most years that I could play at the varsity level in high school is the best, because that's a lot of film, a lot of opportunities for you to be seen. So anything that was taken away from that hurt me mentally, because I live by the motto, ball is life. Okay, so when that happened, I really started to look at life differently. I started to stop emphasizing ball is life era, and I really focused on life in general. And some of the things that Pastor G and Lady G were instilling in me and were showing me kind of made me understand why I needed to not just emphasize ball and emphasize life, because I began to understand by what they were teaching me and showing me that there was so much more to me than just ball. And I started to understand that God had placed me in this realm of athletics to really further the advancement of the kingdom. And I started to take on this thing as like, oh man, I really like to do other things other than just football. Although I still love football, still drop a hat and go play it, I understand that there are things that were more important at the time. But then ball was everything. I was like, I'm out, let's go play. So the next question that I wanted to talk to you about: when times get tough, have you allowed God to speak? And in this particular time in my life, I was a freshman, a true freshman at the University of South Alabama, and there was so many things that I was dealing with on top of home life and really just football in general that kind of made it really tough for me. So it wasn't the typical time management or the class load, because I was able to control all of that. I was able to deal with all of that. But it was difficult for me, not because I wasn't playing, because I understood that you had to put in the work to be this. What was difficult for me was being in a place where God told you to be. You asked God, you prayed to God to say, hey God, do I need to commit to this school? Do I need to be at this school? God gives you the green light and you go, and you be in a place where the people don't believe that you're good enough to be that or be there. And that really bothered me. Like, all my life I've been working to do this one thing, and I finally get on this big platform at a Division I school, and I get treated like I don't belong. So I had a decision to make. After my fall freshman year, after the fall semester, I had the opportunity to do some things or decisions that I needed to make that would ultimately alter Bryant Lavender as you know it at the University of South Alabama. And instead of being that guy who just jumped on anything that could happen, or just like, oh, because I don't want to do this, then let me just do something easier, I had to think about what Pastor G told me all the time. He said, don't make a destiny decision on a temporary circumstance. And so as I thought about that thing, I was like, okay, well, is this a temporary circumstance, or is this the destiny decision? Is God, is this what I want? And so I had to remove myself. I had to get out of my feelings. Like I said, I had to remove ball is life to, okay, just life. So I prayed to God and I said, God, I need you to move. I need you to do this. I need you to tell me this. And I asked him the question, God, what do I need to do? And ultimately, God gave me the answer that I needed. Oh my God, all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. Oh my goodness. So when God told me that, and I believed what God told me, because up until this point, God had never let me down. The only reason why I was at South Alabama was because God told me to go. That was what happened. So I made my decision, and then ultimately solidified where I would be in that moment, and ultimately changed the course of my life, because I made that decision that God told me to do, and I stayed to that word that he gave me. I stood firm on those things, and that was kind of why I just didn't make a hastily decision on that, because I was conflicted in my spirit. I was conflicted mentally, physically, but I knew that I had to put my feelings aside and really obey God. So obeying God and allowing him the opportunity to speak to me and tell me what I needed to do. Well, all right, this is Bryant Lavender on Author Insights for Driven, Fight for What They Said You Couldn't Have. Again, if you don't have the book, you got to get it, because it is going to bless you. It's going to show you how to deal with things that you either lay dormant or are actively facing right now, and how to believe in God. So once again, I love you guys, and I will see you soon.